What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again to the power of the internet. And this is my weekly gaming news wrap up. So let's just get right into the games. The first story I want to talk about is how the ESRB has successfully defeated loot boxes in the industry. Except, of course, that's absolutely not the case. If you're unfamiliar with the ESRB, that's the Entertainment Software Rating Board, and they were kind of a reactionary thing that the industry did in the 90s in reaction to your Tipper Gores and your Jack Thompsons trying to get video games regulated by the government. In fact, I think they wanted the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division to also regulate video game content. The industry said, no, don't worry about it. We can self-regulate, and they created the ESRB and started rating their own video games to help consumers know what's going to be in those games. Of course, you've heard pundits like Jim Sterling and Total Biscuit and myself and Angry Joe say that the ESRB needed to do something when it comes to loot boxes and the effect that they may have on kids, the effect that they may have on people playing those games. Some people have called for those to be rated as adults only. I've said that at least T for teen. I really hate young kids doing like the spending money for in-game purchases when they don't really understand it. But at the end of the day, the ESRB decided to do effectively nothing. They did announce this week that they're going to start putting in-game purchases on the box. The problem is that's every video game these days. Even if it doesn't have loot boxes, even if it doesn't have microtransactions, it'll often have DLC. There's almost always in-game purchases in every game. So this doesn't really differentiate for the consumer, specifically the parents, whether this is the good kind of DLC or the good kind of in-app purchases or the bad kind. And here's the thing, if you guys remember, I may come across as a little bit hypocritical here because when Android and iOS decided to start labeling games as having in-app purchases, I applauded that effort. But that was several years ago, and that's often for freemium games. And these days, pretty much every app has them in there, so it really doesn't make a difference. And that's going to be the same case here. Now we're 2 years later, the ESRB is finally going to do this, and it's ineffective. It's ineffective entirely because every game is going to have that label. So it's just kind of a pointless gesture, but I actually think that's the point. The Entertainment Software Rating Board is a self-regulating company. It's basically owned by the game companies who are creating these exploitive practices and these loot boxes and these microtransactions, and they are paying them, and ultimately they're going to tell them how to do this. So they're not going to cut their own throat. Of course, they're going to call loot boxes just the same thing as an in-game transaction. It's no different from a nice big chunk of Witcher DLC or Fallout DLC. It's just basically, it's the same thing, right, guys? To get those 2 emotes and a skin out of your $4.99 box, that's the same thing as $20 10 hours worth of gameplay. And I pretend in my Francis videos that I expect them to do this, but at the end of the day, they're not going to. It's going to be up to the consumers like me and you. And the problem is consumers like me and you who are immune to that stuff, we're outnumbered by a good number of people who buy their FIFA coins and buy the packs and do all of that stuff. At least with the bad PR that loot boxes have been getting, maybe we'll see less loot boxes, but they'll come up with another way, and they'll just slap this meaningless label on it when they do. I'll tell you who I feel sorry for is the one guy at the ESRB that actually wants to protect consumers and actually protect kids from this stuff, because he fought for it. He fought for it, and I hope they gave him a yacht. Yeah, you deserved at least a yacht for letting him do this crap. This week's episode is brought to you by the folks over at Daily Harvest, and my month's shipment just came in, so I wanted to show it off to you guys real quick because I'm pretty hungry. So this is my 3rd month in a row getting Daily Harvest shipments, and I have to say I'm really starting to love it. I obviously love the convenience because it's so easy to go from your freezer to the blender or into the microwave for the soups and the oatmeals and, of course, the smoothies and stuff. They taste really good. They got a really nice calorie count, and it's a bunch of superfoods with a bunch of super ingredients all in one place. Look at that ingredients list. That's everything that's in there. You know you're eating healthy when it has an ingredients list that looks like that. Best part about Daily Harvest is not only is it nutritious and delicious, it's super convenient because they will ship it to your front door frozen in a dry ice freezer pack, so it's ready to go from that directly to your freezer. It can't get more convenient than that. So do me a favor, go to daily-harvest.com/BOOGIE or click on the link in the description box below. And if you do that, they're to give you 3 smoothies for free. You're eating nutritious, you're eating delicious, and it could not be more convenient. I highly recommend it. I wanted to give a shout out to a game that released last week, but I wanted to wait until I had a chance to play with it a little bit before I recommended it. It's a game called Moss. It's a PlayStation exclusive, and it's a PlayStation VR game, so I know that's going to exclude a lot of people. However, this might be the flagship PSVR game and one of the flagship VR games overall because it's absolutely amazing. Actually has an 85 score from the critics and an 8.6 user score, and that's pretty much unheard of. And the reason this is so important to me, and I know it's not important to those of you who don't care about VR, but I love VR. One of the reasons I've been trying to lose so much weight is so I could do more in VR, because I love virtual reality. I've been waiting on it since the late 80s, early 90s. But also this company reached out to me after I said that I was excited about the game, and they actually offered me 4 of these little guys. These little figures. They offered 4 pins and 4 posters as well. This is not paid promotion or anything like that. They just offered me some stuff to give away to you guys. So if you're interested in getting some Moss memorabilia, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll try to pick 4 of you to give this stuff away to. Well, 3, because I'm keeping that. He's really cute. But the reason I'll go the extra mile for this is because VR is very important to me, and there's just not enough companies out there, and I'm glad that this company, Polyarc, decided to put their money where their mouth is and really invest in VR, and I want them to succeed because they did it. And admittedly, probably PlayStation really helped them do that as well, so it's probably some of PlayStation's money, but I really want to reward this because not a lot of people are taking a risk on VR, and I think VR is great, but not a lot of people will try it because there's not a lot of flagship games, and this looks like one of those flagship games. And I'm really excited about it. And here's a game I do not recommend. It is called Super Seducer. I checked my email after watching Donkey make a video making fun of this game and realized that I actually had a code for this game. So I decided to stream it over the last couple of weeks. And I have a lot of things to say about this game, even though it's hardly a game. It's more of a choose-your-own-adventure movie kind of thing, but I got a lot to say about it. If you're unfamiliar with this game, it's a game designed by a pickup artist to basically help you get girls. And I guess that's the design of the game. And it teaches you how to, treat women with some amount of respect, but also about negging. And right in the very first chapter, you'll see them teaching you to not give women a choice or to block their path, or some really crazy, dangerous stuff. I definitely do not recommend this game if you actually want advice on how to pick up ladies. And look at me, man. At the end of the day, I could use all the help I could get, and there was no help for me here. The joy of the game came from, having some positive choices and some bad choices. Whenever you made one of the obviously bad choices, the acting was kind of funny, the bits about it were kind of funny. It's an amusing watch. You should probably watch a YouTuber or a streamer play this game. I don't recommend spending the $10 on it, though. But even some of the good choices seemed like bad choices to me, like bad advice, like blocking people and not giving them a choice and misleading them and lying to them. And I don't understand that stuff. It doesn't seem like that would work. But then again, I look like me, so maybe that stuff doesn't work for me. If you look like him, maybe it does work for him. And even if it did work, I'm just going to be honest with you, I wouldn't treat women that way. I don't understand why he would. Probably the cringiest thing about it is the shot that I have here at the bottom is the success screen. Whenever you get things right, there's a couple of girls dressed up and made up and half naked and looking just bored and miserable and unhappy to be there. So if you get the wrong answer, you choose the wrong thing, it'll just be Richard on the bed all alone. But hey, if you get the right answer, it's Richard on the bed with 2 probably underpaid ladies who are not very happy to be there and look just absurdly bored and uncomfortable. At the end of the day, I don't think any of the advice in this game is good advice, and I don't think you should play this game for that purpose. I think it's fun to make fun of, which is what I did on stream. I made fun of the silly parts of it. I made fun of the acting, sometimes the clothes, just sometimes the scenarios, stuff along that lines. It's a funny joke game, and I think it's a fun game to watch other people play. Just don't go into this thinking it's going to help you with women, because if you need help with women bad enough to where this makes sense to you, you're a lost cause. Honestly, I genuinely believe that. I will pay Richard one compliment, though. It took balls of steel to take his time and his money to produce a game like this in this current political climate here in the current year, 2018. And we're definitely seeing that as the resistance here. A lot of people are hating on this game, not just because it's a poorly made game or poorly acted or poorly scripted or poorly put together, but just because of the overall concept. And we even saw PlayStation block the game today, and I guess it's in part because of the poor execution, but also because of the fact that at the end of the day, they just don't like the topic matter. It took balls of steel to do that, to take his time and take his money and invest it into something that he believed in, even though he knew in the current political climate he would be roasted for it. So at least that. If you make a second game, I'll play it. I'll probably make fun of it too, Richard. I promise you I will, but I will play it, just because it was amusing. It was an amusing little playthrough. So just don't take any of the advice seriously, because I don't think he takes it seriously either. And if he does, get help. Speaking of PlayStation, by the way, I wanted to end this video by talking about PlayStation real quick. They made an announcement last week saying that they are going to focus on, double down, and triple down on the single-player narrative experience. And certainly that is what has defined PlayStation this generation, is the incredible exclusives and all of them being single-player narrative games like Horizon Zero Dawn, and with plenty of games left to come with like Days Gone and God of War. And even the developer of God of War said that there would be no pay-to-win loot boxes or anything like that in their game. I'm sure they're still going to monetize it in some way, especially if there's multiplayer or something like that. But at the end of the day, I do expect that game to have a very narrative-focused single-player experience, and PlayStation really does that right. And there's plenty of games like that on PC as well, and Microsoft makes a few games like that as well. But they really do monetize even their exclusive games. I'm thinking the Forza series, especially when it comes to loot boxes and things along that lines. I'm really glad to see Sony is not doing that, because, you know, I backed Sony at the beginning of this console generation because they were being very consumer-friendly, and now that they're in a place of power, they could easily walk that back. They're not. Instead, they're doubling down and tripling down. And I think that's awesome, because that's always going to be the types of games I prefer. And I do play the Hearthstones. I do play the multiplayer games. I do play that stuff from time to time. At the end of the day, I'm always going to prefer the single-player narrative story that makes me feel things. And I'm so glad PlayStation is going to continue to do that throughout the rest of this generation. Even though there's only a few years left of this generation, I'm excited. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this week's Gaming Roundup. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments section below. What do you think about the opinions and the games that I chose and the news that I chose? Did I miss news that's important to you? Let me know down there. And while you're down there, don't forget there's a link to my sponsor, Daily Harvest. A big thank you again for sending the food, letting me have something free to eat that I absolutely enjoy and I think is absolutely delicious. And on top of that, if you guys decide to purchase something through that, you will be supporting me as well, and I really appreciate that. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon. Man, my asthma is acting up today.